Well, well, well. Well, well, well. We are here in pre-show. Hot diggity dog. Greg, can you hear me?
I can indeed. Can you hear
Hot
me?
dog. All right, let me
I
let
love
me
it when
get
stuff
you
works.
let me get you adjusted. Yeah, when it works right the first time though, I'm always suspicious because it's like, okay, well, what did I do to make this work? Why is
Do you
it
want me to
working?
tilt down or do I need a bigger chair?
I was going to see if I could grab you here. Let's see.
I can tilt down a little bit.
Where
You don't
is?
want to
Oh,
see how this camera is wedged
you're
in
right there.
between gear in the rack.
Oh yeah, yeah. Used to be you could use a telephone book, but now people don't have telephone books.
Well, that's, assuming you have a convenient place to put a telephone book.
Yeah, well, you put it on the
I'm
shelf
in a
for your
digital
laptop.
broom closet.
A digital broom closet. I like it. I like it. Okay, pick a spot and get comfortable there. Don't move again ever.
Oh, well, here, I'll just sit here. Oh, you're moving
Yeah,
and I'm moving. I'm sorry.
yeah,
Trying to help you.
yeah. I always appreciate people that offer assistance. It's like, okay, can you be taller? No, I can be shorter. All right. Let's see.
I can be
Let's see.
taller, but
Let's see.
not for
Let's see.
very long.
Yeah, that's right.
Those
That's right.
muscles don't work anymore.
Tell me about it. Tell me about it. Okay, we're pre-show. We've got 2 minutes left here, so we're just warming up. Now, if for anybody that's watching, this is not rehearsed. Greg and I have not rehearsed this in advance. He did not get a list of questions to prepare for me. Um, and
Tom said we're going to
Ken,
talk about vMix.
yeah,
That's what
we
he said.
are. Yeah, that's right. That's
There you
right.
go. That was my prep. Okay, and they sent me a call link. Next.
Do you have access to the chat? Do you
Uh,
want it?
where I don't. Where is it? Is it like
Uh,
on YouTube or something? I just have your call open.
you can do
Or that chat.
YouTube, or you can do my website and
Yeah,
navigate to the
let's
chat, whichever's easier.
see. YouTube I can get. What's the website? Is it Streaming Idiots? No.
Streaming idiots. Yeah, that's right. Can I've still got left and right audio? Huh? How did I do that? Let's go check. Ba-dum-bum. Yeah, there we
By the
go.
way, thanks for that intro graphic. I'm never gonna live that down with this crew. Ever. Thanks.
Well, I
Okay,
want you to feel appreciated.
so watch live, and then is the chat on there somewhere?
Yeah. If you go to watch live and
Oh,
scroll all the way down,
top chat. There we go.
there you go. There you go.
Okay, so let me put
So
this in
Ken
so it
just
looks
did
like I'm on the show.
what kind of boats were those, Ken? They were like miniature thunderboats or something like that. That was really good. Greg is really quiet. Okay. And we can bump him up a
Hey,
little
hey,
bit.
hey.
There we
You
go.
know what? You're the first person to ever say that I'm really quiet.
Well, that's because I had you turned down.
You know, anybody that knows me says the big problem is Greg is getting him to shut up. So there.
Oh, there we go. We got a phone we need to turn off here. It's Eric at US Broadcast. Tied up on another call. I'll
Eric
call you back.
Pratt.
Yeah, he should know
Tell him I
better
said
than to call it
hi.
at
He
3 o'clock.
should.
Really.
Exactly.
I mean, come on,
Exactly.
guys.
That-
This is like
That's a party foul, EP.
it's a special hour here. Okay, we got that muted. All right. Well,
Oh, hey, Richard. How are you?
so Rich is here. Now Tom is in both. Thank you, Ken. I think we're all good. It's a hydroplane. Okay, very good. Yeah, Ken just did some cool hydroplane racing with like 6 different cameras, including a drone. That was great. All right, and Ron is here.
There, that's a
Welcome.
little better.
And Martin is here. Greg is indeed very quiet, and Tom could come down a few decibels on his side. Yeah, but Greg is still quiet. Okay, let's bump Greg up a
Hello,
little bit.
hello, hello. Here's a mic check. Here's a mic check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 11, 12, 27,
We'll give that a shot.
42.
We'll give
How's
that a
that?
shot. Martin says he thinks you can boost it a little bit on your end, but that's okay. We've got you boosted
can?
here. I don't know. Can you?
Probably in Windows settings or something. He's making a lot of assumptions about my 6-year-old Dell. This is the longest I've ever had a computer, ever.
Really? Oh my.
Yeah. I'm one of those buys a new one every year, maybe 2 kind
Sure.
of guys. And,
Yeah.
Yeah. And they used to be MacBooks up until 2017, and Apple kind of hosed me, so I'm not an Apple guy anymore.
Congratulations.
Well, us smart guys. So I'm in auto here, so let's see if I can get out of auto here. Oops, that's output. I want input, input, input.
Hello, Rich. Welcome. Glad you're here. Oh, Martin says that we're balanced much better now, so you can
Oh yeah? Okay,
you can
great.
end that journey.
Well, I'll stand down because, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
also on a USB headset because that's all I had with me this week. Sorry. I was supposed to be home this week.
I understand that. Instead, you
And I
are
was hoping to do
in
this from my
an
office because I had a lot of
undisclosed
cool things.
location.
No, we can disclose it. It's fine.
Okay. All right. Well, let's get the show going, and we'll get started. So I'm going to mute you. I bet there are people in your life that would like to have you on a mute button. And let's go. Oh my goodness, that thing always takes me by surprise. Hey, welcome. I'm Tom Sinclair. This is Streaming Idiots. The internet officially ends, well, right over there. You can see the edge of the internet. So you've come to the end of the internet. Thanks so much for joining us. For those of you that are joining us live, you've got the ability to chat with us if you'd like to in the YouTube chat. We'd love to hear what you think. And for those of you that are watching us after the fact, well, sorry about that, but leave a comment in the YouTube comments. That would be great if you have any questions, especially as we get into our topic and introduce our guest. But first, wait, but first, we have a couple of cool things coming up this summer that you may or may not be interested in. One is we are going to do a shortened version of our vMix 101 class. And generally it's a 6-week class, 2 hours once a week. We're going to do it in 3 weeks, 2 hours twice a week. And that's going to take you through vMix head to stern. And you will come out of that with a much deeper understanding of vMix as you move into the fall, whatever fall activities those may be. Second thing is, we are offering again our instant replay class, the vMix instant replay class. TJ Thompson's going to teach that. I think it's going to be either a 2 or a 3 session class. It'll be in the evening so that you can attend almost any time. And we'll have more information on our website at easternshorebroadcasting.com. Third is, for those of you that are struggling, and boy did I ever struggle, with doing something at the high school sports level and are struggling with camera people, camera operators, we are having a Saturday workshop for camera operators. And the plans are not finished on that. We think it's going to be sometime in August before school starts. It'll be 2 or 3 hours on a Saturday. It'll be affordable, like, $29 a person, or you can show it in a classroom at the school for I don't know, $150. We'll come up with something that we think is equitable, and pack as many kids in as you want to. And we're going to have some live sports camera ops to come in and talk about, how the camera works, how you want to get your shots, how you want to communicate with your technical director, all those kinds of things, and bring up the level of high school sports. So look for that in the future. And with that, it's kind of a good segue into our guest today. Our guest, and I better make sure I turn his audio on. Boy, am I I'm always forgetting those kinds of things. But our guest is Greg Bellotte. Bellotte, sorry, excuse me, Greg, I blew that one.
That's
And
okay. It's been
and
butchered far worse.
Greg has worked in all sorts of live productions, mostly television, but now turning into the other screens, and currently is on the set. Well, I guess you wouldn't call it the set, on the site of the U.S. Open, and is working in a. He's coming to us live from one of the production trucks at the U.S. Open as they get ready to start the Open. I guess that's going to start tomorrow. Greg, welcome. So glad you could
Yes,
come.
correct. Oh, thanks. Thanks for having me.
And Greg was at the Streaming Idiots meetup at NAB, and
That was so much fun.
that
I'm glad
that
I went to
really
that.
was a blast. And in a moment of ignorance, he said yes, he would come on this show. So it's like I had him
I don't think
corners.
it was
Like, Greg,
ignorance.
Greg, you want to come on the show? And he's like, well, sure, I guess. No, it wasn't that
Well,
bad.
I've never been in front of the camera ever. I mean, this is the first time that
No
anybody's
way.
ever interviewed me or had me on as, a speaker. I'm always the behind the scenes guy.
Right.
I'm a technician, engineer. I make stuff work. I'm not supposed to be out in the lights, but here I am.
It could be the start of a whole new thing, you know?
Oh, God, I hope not.
That's right. That's right.
I've never been a speaker, so bear with me.
But you've got an amazing background in production. Give us just a little idea. Um,
Well, I don't know if it's so much amazing. It's just that I've been doing this for a long time. So
yeah.
I started in high school. I had a wonderful AV program in 81, at 79, 80, 81 when I went to high school. And we had an auditorium with full sound, lighting, and everything. We had
He's
an
young.
in-house video system in 1980. And because my school was so big, we had like 4,000 kids in one high school. So that when, the English department wanted to show the red badge of courage, there weren't enough copies in the county to go around in our school, much less the rest of the county. So they would give us one copy and we'd telesync it to 3/4 and play it back. And we had a massive fleet of 24-inch TVs on carts. So we'd roll them out to all the rooms, hey, channel 4 at, 5 minutes after the bell, we'd hit play, and that was that. And that's how we did that. So I got a big jump start way back then. Got into real radio and then real TV. I worked at WFLA in Tampa, and I quit there in 88. That was my last day job, and I've been freelance ever since. So I do tons of network things. I've been to Daytona 500. I've been to 14 Super Bowls, 4 World Series,
I'm sorry, did you say
and I've been doing
14
golf.
Super Bowls?
I've been to 14 Super Bowls, yes.
Holy cow.
Don't ask me to number them all because I got to look at my list because I can't remember. But 18 was the first one. 23, 24, 25. I was at the one right after 9/11. I remember that one. U2 played there. It was a great concert. Their rehearsal concert Saturday night was really incredible. So that was neat. Yeah, but I've been doing mostly golf events for the last couple of decades. I
Uh-huh.
did a lot of stuff directly with the PGA Tour for a long time. And golf and auto sports are like the top of the food chain in the broadcast world. We have the biggest setups. Football, you're talking about field of play is 100 feet by 300 feet, and all the angles show the same thing. Golf is acres. I mean, this golf course is 100 and something acres, I think, and we have 18 holes, and you can have 18 groups of golfers or more all hitting the ball at the same time, and it's up to us to make sure that we get that on tape and present every shot to the audience, where applicable. So it's very difficult. There's 1,000 strands of fiber that leave the TV compound and go out to the golf course and fan out and go everywhere there's cameras. There's 96 pieces of fiber that just interconnect my truck. Our TV truck is actually 4 semi-trailers. It's all interconnected as one production unit. So this thing's massive. It's worth like $60 million, and it's really cool to work in something like this. You can see some of it behind me. That's that audio board right there is worth $250,000. It's cool. I get the best toys to play with when I work these shows. So
Oh my gosh. Toys.
anyhow,
He
I've
calls them
been doing that
toys. I love it.
seriously since 1988. So it's not that it's an amazing career. It's just a long one. So,
But
but
all the
then,
cool
COVID
stuff you've
hit, and
gotten to
like
do.
and
Jeez.
and like the rest of us, COVID hits in 2020, and then a lot of this stuff wasn't happening. So there I am
Right.
sitting at home, like, okay, what does Greg do this week? I'm
Uh-huh.
bored to tears. So
Uh-huh.
I got into vMix, and I'm a
Really?
vMix guy too. So yeah,
Really?
yeah.
It
I
was COVID that
never
got
touched
you into
vMix.
vMix. That's amazing.
It was because I had a lot of off time, and it wasn't so much money as it was I just needed something to occupy my time. I was just going nuts sitting at home
Sure.
not doing anything. So okay, well, let's get a copy, let's play around with it. I love, Martin's 2-month trial is unheard of anywhere, and
Yes.
it's great because it gives
Very
you plenty
generous.
of time to, if you take the 60 days and actually play with it and dig into it, make it break and see what it can do or can't do, and then you have a real good understanding before you plunk down the
The
money.
hook is set.
And I think it's worth every penny. I mean, so that screen you can't see right there, that's running audio playback software. All it does is play music. There's 40 tiles on there. I touch the tile and it plays a piece of music, right? That software costs more than vMix Pro. And that's all it does.
Yes.
So I think
Yes.
vMix is a bargain. So amazing piece of software. And when you start strapping 2 and 3 vMix machines together, you can do really cool stuff. So
Huh.
anyhow, that's where I started. That's kind of where I am. And I was supposed to be home this week, but we had a death in one of our crew last week, and it affected some people. And one of them decided he wanted to go home and be with his family. I totally understand that. So I was happy to be available and fill in for him. So that's why I'm here this week.
So, and you made a stipulation.
Well, you know what? I did. I said, look, I can clear out everything on my calendar except Wednesday afternoon at 3 p.m. Eastern. I need an hour. And if you can't give me this hour, I can't come. I really did say that. Believe it or
So he
not.
tells the U.S. Open, hang on a second. Let me check my
NBC
calendar.
Sports. I told NBC Sports, you cannot have me unless I can have this hour today. So there's a big sign on my door right now that says, don't come in here. Greg's on the air.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, you honor me with that. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. So tell me, as you explore vMix, what caught your eye? You're a production guy. You've seen it all. You've played with it all. You've played with the toys that cost more than we'll ever have go through our bank accounts in 10 years.
So understand
What do
that
you like?
before I ever got into vMix, I've been into Blackmagic ATM switchers since the first one came out, 2013 or so.
Okay.
And I bought one of the 2MEs at the day B&H had it in stock. And I was in New York doing the US Open, so maybe it wasn't right when it was in stock, but I was there doing the US Open. So I walked down the street from my hotel because I'd never been there. And I was like, oh, cool, what a place. By the way, if you haven't ever been, go. It's amazing.
Never been there.
And I walked one back to the hotel and we started playing around with it. And then the golf people were like, hey, we want to start doing these small interview shows. And the whole thing is we want to cut between cameras live. We need a switcher, but we don't need a whole TV truck. We have this much money, blah, blah, blah. So it's one of those, we drew it out on a cocktail napkin, over drinks and dinner one night. Can we do this? Can we do that? Can we do the other thing? And I'm like, well, I don't know. Let me go back to the room and play. And, yes, we can do all this stuff. And next thing you know, I've got a Blackmagic kit. Then I had 2. Now I have 8. So, work presents itself when you start having the gear. So it's kind of nice. And I have plenty of, hold on, somebody's calling me. They're breaking the rule. Don't you know I'm on with Tom? Turn that down so that doesn't disturb us. And so that allowed me to do a lot of things. But when COVID came up, we can't go anywhere. I can't be somewhere and be in person and have a camera and plug it right into my switcher. Like right now I'm in Boston and you're in, where are you again? Louisiana?
Fairhope, Alabama.
Alabama. I'm sorry.
Gulf of
Mexico.
Mexico.
Down there somewhere.
That's okay.
Yes. So I'm you're down in Alabama. It's like, I can't plug you into my ATM. I don't have enough SDI cable. So, so it was like, it's kind of a pain to have a computer for every single call. And then, the adaption to get that mess into a Blackmagic switcher and generate feeds to put back into the computers. I mean, that's just a lot of hardware.
But it was possible.
Yeah, it was, but it wasn't convenient, as opposed to, when I started looking around, what other options do we have? I looked at some TriCasters and how they have some integration with Skype and that kind of thing. and how can we better do this, tackle this problem? So, and then I eventually stumbled across vMix, and it was like, oh wow, hey, this is like all built in. All I need is a computer and an internet connection, and look what I can do now. I can bring a guest in through vMix call, or it's not too terribly hard to integrate something like Skype or Zoom over NDI on a second computer, or you can really do it on the first one if you want to, but I don't roll that way. So anyhow, but yeah, it ticked a lot of boxes for what we wanted to do, and it's certainly cost effective. So we built some computers, and kind of the rest is history from there.
Now you say we.
I'm tied up till 4 o'clock. Sorry.
Tell me who we is. Is that the royal we? Myself,
no.
and I?
Well, yes and no. I mean, my company is fairly small, so for the most part, it's just me.
Okay.
So, but I do have a lot of people that I work with on a regular basis, and through the wonders of Streaming Idiots and Facebook and all of that stuff, there's tons of people that I've met through Facebook. Like Doug at Never Ends in Indiana, Jeff Keithley, down at Live Sports in Texas, and we find each other, and we all have resources each other can use. So Jeff will bring me into a show because I know this or I have that,
right?
And Doug's like, hey, I've just built some fiber boxes for Doug, and so there's a lot of sharing that happens at this point. So it's kind of cool. The networks have a whole network,
right?
Not to be confused with their channel, but they have a network of people that they bring in to make their productions happen. And now that we're starting to do that on the streaming level, that we're meeting other people in other cities and going, oh look, I don't actually have to go there. I trust this guy to set up whatever and do this, or I can bring this guy in from out of town, and now my crew is bigger and better. So I just met Nate Hall at Stream Virtual. I was in Philadelphia last week doing the Curtis Cup, and went by and saw his studio. So there's one more resource in my book now. So
amazing, isn't it? Amazing, isn't it?
It is. It's great. It's awesome.
Anybody can have a studio. In fact, you don't even have to be smart to have a studio.
So that reminds me of one of my favorite quotes. So the people that own this truck, they are the NEP Group. They're based in Pittsburgh, and they own more TV trucks than anybody else in the world. They have 160 something units across something like 9 different countries last I checked.
Wow.
It's amazing. And the guy that started all that, George, was a fabulous guy, and he would tell us constantly that we, the crew, we're his most important resource, because anybody can take a truck box and put gear in it, okay? But the crew, you technicians that I bring in, you know how to get the most out of whatever the pile of stuff is this week, okay? Because this week we found this, and that week we're on the other coast, and now we have other stuff. So it's constantly changing, evolving, whatever availability. You guys can put this stuff together into a system and make me a show and put it on the air, and the network execs love it, and so you people make the magic. So, and I've taken that to heart, and this was like 30 years ago he said this to me, and I still firmly believe that. When we as humans use the gray matter and we read the book, RTFM, and we actually learn how to use a camera, learn how to route audio so that we don't get feedback, to make the pictures look pretty, to have good content and tell a story, all of that is brain power. It's got nothing to do with the gear. I mean, I used to say that, I can take a board like this and make a nice show, or I could take a stack of little baby Mackie mixers, or like Octopres or something with some software, and I could still make a good sounding show if that's all I had to work with, because I learned audio and how to make things sound good. So it's all about the gray matter, in my opinion. So read the books.
Read the book. Read the manual. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, geez. All right. So you've gone from, well, not that you've moved because you're still doing the macro stuff, but you've gone from macro to micro
What, so I used to be out of, so I can't get any of the macro stuff to come to where I live, so I
They won't
always have
roll a
to go
truck
to
to your
it.
house. Yeah. Oh, golly.
No, right. They won't play the Super Bowl in Utah either. So unfortunately, we don't even have a team. So that's not happening. So the last year that I was full on travel, I am out of town away from my house over 270 days out of the 365 days that there are in the year. And that was
Wow.
consistent for like 10 years. So think about, my kids growing up and I didn't see much of them. And thank God they still love me. So thanks, kids. you know and it's hard, it's very difficult to live that lifestyle, and it's also hard being a freelancer. You work a job, most people, they work this week and they get a paycheck next week. It's very consistent that you get check after check after check. Well,
Right.
I might go 2 months between jobs, so now I'm going 2 months between paychecks, and we typically don't get paid until 30 days after that job is over. So having the sense to budget your money, not spend it all as soon as you get it, because it might be months before you see any more. It's that is very difficult for a lot of people in this business as well. So, and I'm sure a lot of streaming guys can probably relate to that these days too.
Well, and so streaming ends up filling in some of the gaps.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, if I'm sitting at home with no macro projects, I'm very open to doing almost anything. I don't work for free. Let's not make that leap. But yeah, I mean, even making less money is always better than making no money.
Right.
So I'm a little greedy when it comes to the cash. But yeah, but no, we were approached, or I say we. It's basically I get approached by people, and we've all talked on Facebook. I found vMix lately. Look, I figured this was cool, and then somebody else shoot me a message. Well, how did you do that? I'm like, oh, yeah, look here, blah 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 blah. So next thing you know, I get clients calling me. Hey, you look like you know what you're doing with this. So we've had some not optimal shows lately,
Yep.
and we'd like to
Yep.
discuss maybe you improving what we've been doing.
Yep.
Can you help us? Can you just do the show? Can you teach our people? So I've, in addition to vMixing, I'm starting a lot of consulting, project builds. I mean, all kind of stuff. I've been building fiber optic systems since '07. Complete systems like that the networks can use for an announce booth. Here, park this box in your booth, and your monitors plug in here, your mics plug in here, your headphones plug in here, and here's some comms for your camera guys.
Right.
And then you run one fiber cable back to the truck, and there's the other box on that end that plugs into the truck with all the signals. So I've been building those for a long time now. So that's really cool. That's neat engineering to play with if you ever get into the nuts and bolts of how any of that works. So that's fun for me. It's kind of like a hobby, but I make money off of it, so I'm happy.
And that is MambaFiber.com.
That is MambaFiber. Yeah, don't go to my website though, man. I put that up in '07, and there's still boxes on there that have composite video. I don't even make that stuff anymore.
So
But
just
I'm
use
not
the
a web.
contact
I'm not a
form
web guy. Hey, so if anybody wants to build me a new website for free, just kidding.
for free.
But
Yeah.
but my contact, you're right. My phone number's on there, and I think my email's on there. So the people either see what I'm doing on Facebook, or they see that and they call me and they're like, hey, we want to do this. And the first answer is always, sure, of course we can do that. And then
Yeah.
it comes down to, we need this much time and this much money to make your vision happen.
Right.
And can we do this or not? I mean, do you have the budget to do this? Okay, great. No. Do you have the budget to do less or less or less or less and less? And sometimes we find a point where we're both happy. Okay, great. I can build this much for that much. That's cool. And sometimes they just never call me again.
Sure.
Sticker shock, I guess. I don't know.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
but and that's just human nature. We all want to produce the Super Bowl, but not all of us can afford to spend $1 million per 60-second commercial slot either. So there's that.
Right. Right. Yeah, that would I'd have to take out a loan to do that.
And wouldn't we all?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, okay. So it started in high school.
I told you, it's been a long career.
It started in high school.
That's what, 4 decades, right?
And and it was a spark. I mean, it was an area that you were interested in. Somebody said, "Hey, Greg, can you do this?"
Absolutely. When I was in middle school, maybe. I mean, I remember my parents had one of those old console TVs. Remember, it was like about as big as a sofa, and there was a TV in the middle. And if you slid back the left-hand side, there was the radio, and if you slid back the other side, there was a phonograph, record player. You know. And I remember them finally putting it out on the back porch because, well, we got something new, and we're not going to use this old black and white thing anymore. And I remember going through it, taking the back off, and pulling the speakers out and mounting them in new boxes and hooking them up to my little transistor radio that was like this big. So that was my first stereo. So I've always been a tinkerer. So, yeah. So when I got into high school and there was an actual program, especially a program that let me cut class one day a month, that was part of it too. So that was club day. So if you were in a club, you got to not go to like the fourth period or something on the last Friday of the month. So I was like, "Oh, sign me up," because that was English. I hated English.
And so, did you go once you left high school? What did you do next to further this interest?
So I worked at an electronics manufacturing firm. We made this little circuit board that controlled commercial air conditioning equipment, all in the name of saving power. So
Okay.
I learned a lot about electronic components, how to solder, what a resistor did, what a diode did, logic circuits, that kind of thing, which ended up being good knowledge going forward. And I started an engineering program. Sorry, I'm a college dropout. And I got about 3 years into the program, and I was still not hitting the specialization classes yet. I was still going through all the stupid prereqs, and I'm like, what does any of this have to do with electronics or design or any of this stuff? So I got an opportunity to go work for the local radio station, and I'm like, you know what? I'm out of here. And I left college, and that was it. I never got a degree, and I was very happy at the radio station. Every kid's dream is to be on the air. Hey, you're listening to WFLA. So they immediately put me on the midnight to 6 a.m. shift on the station that plays elevator music. So that was my first glorious radio job. But I eventually worked up into producing commercials and stuff. I turned into what was called a production assistant. And, so we're transferring commercials that come in on reel-to-reel to little cartridges that they air on. And we have tons of local people that want to make commercials. Here's a script, somebody voiced it. I'm going to add some music and some sound effects and mix it all together and then put it on a tape and hand it off to the DJs. Here, you play this when you're supposed to. So that was cool. And that's where I started to learn more about mixing, because we mix some, just some stage plays. I mean, it's like the high school drama class, and, the cheerleaders would come in. They had a small beauty pageant that we would cover every year. So it was like an MC with a microphone and a couple of music tracks and some spotlights, a little big production. But it was a start. And, just the whole, we're a group of people working towards a common goal to make this production appealing to the people sitting in the audience. And it's not a big leap to take that desire and translate it into, a video production that streams or is aired or just recorded, nice home movies. There's a good market, shooting weddings and making cool wedding videos for people. So that's a way to go with all of this same equipment. It's just a matter of where the product's going to go.
So what do you see for the future now that we've talked about the past? What do you see? More of the same, or
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we're all still humans. We need to be entertained. We need something to focus attention on for at least a few seconds, But, the productions are getting shorter. I mean, look at TikTok, home of the, 17-second video?
yeah.
And all you need is an iPhone to make that happen. And a lot of guys still think that, oh, yeah, all I need is two guys with two iPhones, and then, I can shoot something that looks like network TV. And I did a test for NBC last year to prove that you kind of can, but there's a little more to it than just two phones, because we had two guys at a golf course in Chicago. They're still SRT videoing back to my vMix in Utah, and we still have comms interlinking the three of us so that we can discuss about who's shooting what and when. and then I'm still streaming the content back to Stanford, Connecticut, the NBC mothership. So, there's everybody thinks it's easy until you sit down and do it, and I'm sure a lot of these guys can give testament to that. That yeah, it is difficult to make a good product, especially live. It's easy to just shoot a million pieces and go put it in Final Cut, and 3 weeks later, oh look, here's a masterpiece.
Right.
That's not difficult to achieve, but to put all the pieces in place and have them all line up exactly when they need to be there, because what happens when this camera breaks? But he needs to shoot, like the bride throwing her bouquet, and then that camera goes down. Okay, now what? You can't miss that moment at a wedding.
You got one chance. Yep.
Right, exactly. And that's the whole thing about live. You either did it or you didn't. And fortunately, I'm usually the did it guy. But I was raised that way at the networks. We have backups for everything. We have extra audio boards, we have extra switchers, we have extra satellite trucks, we have extra fiber, we have extra cameras, we have extra everything. And that's one of the reasons why network broadcasting is so expensive, because failure is not an option.
Right.
Because regardless of what happens with the event, okay, there's commercials interspersed in our product, and those commercials come with contracts that say this commercial has to run during golfing or during whatever is happening at the event. And if there's no event happening, you can't say you ran the commercial. And you're talking about the commercial load for a typical golf week is it's hundreds of thousands of dollars. And the network just can't refund all that money. I mean, that's probably where they make most of their money at this point.
Sure.
Is commercial sales, commercial inventory. I mean, almost any broadcast entity, that's where they are. So, yeah. So the show must go on, and that's a very true statement. So, and one of the other things too is we have a lot of cameras. Losing 3 or 4 cameras on this show would not be a big deal. My camera sheet is actually 2 pages. I mean, the truck that I'm sitting in is doing some of the cameras. So I don't know if you guys know this, but in broadcast, the camera head is out in the field and somebody points it, shoots it, whatever. There's a cable that comes back to the truck, and then there's a whole base station with part of the electronics that does all the video processing. And then there's a guy that sits there with a little control panel. He can adjust the red level, the green level, the iris, the shutter, all that stuff. He does that separately from the guy that zooms and focuses. So all that has to be, massaged to make all the pictures look the same. You've got 60-something cameras on this show. And if I go from this camera at hole number 1 to this camera at hole number 17, the green grass better be the same green color. Well, unless it's not really the same color. But for the most part, the grounds crew makes sure that it is. And if it doesn't, the network execs get all upset. That's poor quality video. That's not what we're paying you guys to do. So there's 23 of those systems in this truck. And we are providing, and this is not even the NBC truck that's doing the NBC show. We are next door to them. So they have 20-something cameras over there, and then there's a third truck, and I don't even know how many they have over there. But between the 3 trucks, we have all the CCU controls for all the cameras that are on the golf course. And then once that's handed off to NBC, there's a copy of all these signals that goes to a distribution truck so that they can hand off copies of all these camera feeds to the internet shows, which is what I'm working on. We have two shows shooting feature groups, a show shooting feature holes, and then there's a world feed, there's a British thing here, there's a Japanese thing here, and then there's a whole slew of digital stuff up on the hill. So everybody gets access to these same camera feeds. So it just the technical setup is wild here, but yeah, it's all in the name of backing up. So if we lost 4 or 5 cameras, out of 60, it's not a deal breaker. It's really not. But if you lose 3 of your 4 cameras on a stream, well, you're kind of in trouble.
You better have that one camera be your best one. Yeah.
Right. And sometimes we put them, in different places. So maybe that's way over there, and he can't even see what needs to happen. So,
right.
Yeah.
Right. Yep.
Things you have to deal with.
So looking back to the future, what would you like to see in vMix 26?
Well, to be fair, I'm still using 24. I'm a behind the times guy when it comes to software. I am purposely always at least a version behind. And That's because things don't always work the way you expect them to, and I like to test. I mean,
That's because you've been playing
everything.
with black magic all these years. You just
No, it's just because I was brought up to not fail. So we don't just show up and say, "Yeah, I think I can do that," and give it a go. That never happens. That's just not how I was brought up. You know, any time that even a two-camera show that I would supply gear for, that whole show gets built at my house before
mhm.
it ever even goes into a Pelican case. Okay, every camera, every cable, every monitor, everything. I build the entire show, and then I'm like, okay, what do I think they're going to do? Do I think they're going to cut between cameras? Do I think they're going to record cameras? Are they going to do ISOs? Are they going to play back ISOs? Are they going to do instant replay? Whatever it is that they've contracted me to provide, yeah, it's all hooked up. It's all tested out. I mean, maybe a week before it ships. Okay, then I'm happy that all the pieces are actually here, that they're not going to call me and say, hey, where's the doohickey that puts the camera on the tripod?
Right.
Or
Right.
something like that. I know every single piece is here and it was 100% functional. Then I'll break it down, and as I break it down, I make an inventory sheet, and then I pack it into cases, and then I ship it off to the client along with the inventory. Here's what you're renting, and if this doesn't come home, God help you, because if you
That's
break
right.
it or lose it, you bought it. That's the gist of the rental contract for almost anybody. So, yeah.
So
I don't know.
reliability version 24. Got it. Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
All right.
but you're asking. So, the only thing that really piqued my interest in 25 was the ability to save all your assets in one folder.
Mm-hmm.
Because in 24, if you just save your preset and you
Mm-hmm.
hand somebody a preset, and if they don't have the exact same file structure on their hard drive,
That's
and
right.
it almost never right, because your username is always different than mine, right?
Yep. Yep.
So, and we've found some workarounds. One a good one is put everything in like a OneDrive and
Sure.
move your OneDrive out of your documents folder. Make the OneDrive right off, like make it its own drive. Like
Right.
OneDrive is the O drive on most of my boxes, and then the OneDrive has a root. So if I map my OneDrive to the O on every system that I want to play with, that I can freely bring stuff back and forth out of OneDrive, and it fits right in the same file structure because I made it that way.
There you go.
But that's certainly not how it works out of the box. So, little tweaks like that. So that feature piqued my interest. I would love to have some more vMix calls, and I would definitely love to have more audio buses. I'm mostly an audio guy over the years. Audio and comms are what I do most of. But I also have been EIC, what they call EIC, engineer in charge. You're the guy that basically runs the truck and is responsible for making all the gear work, not just the audio. It's I always seem to be running out of buses. It'd be nice if they had a better way to do like insert points too, I think, because there's some external processing, like the Dugan auto mixer comes to mind, and it would be really cool to be able to plumb that in natively to vMix instead of trying to do the VST plugins and all that stuff. It's just I like hardware. Hardware works. Plus, I have several of them. So.
Okay.
So yeah, things like that. But I think those are wish list items that Martin's probably going, oh no, we ain't doing that, because seriously, it's way beyond the scope of where vMix needs to be, and it probably gets really unnecessarily complicated for the casual vMix user. I'm decidedly a power user when it comes to vMix.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. So you're the wrong person to ask that question to. Okay.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, and I mean the future. I mean, people have been asking me about the future for 20 something years, and I'm like, well, the future keeps coming, and we're still here, and we're as humans resistant to change to begin with. So there's
That's
that.
Right.
But I mean, the quality's gotten better, and the reliability. I mean, I can remember back in like the 80s. You bought a really expensive audio console because it had good components, and the faders wouldn't get scratchy after 6 months, or things like that. And now you can buy, $89 boards at Guitar Center that work great and last for years.
Mm-hmm.
So the industry's kind of, done a lot of improvements in that area. So I mean, I hope that kind of thing keeps coming in the future, and we all hope that things start getting cheaper, because think about what you can do with a typical vMix computer, and what would it take to do 8 remotes and switch and record and do replay 10 years ago. How much equipment would you need? What equipment would you need?
Oh my gosh.
The replay servers that we use in the broadcast, a company called EVS.
Sure.
We affectionately call them Elvis because it's almost his name, EVS. And the typical server, the EVS server, runs about $100,000. And it's very reliable and it's fairly easy to use once you learn how they work. And there's a lot of people that use them. I mean, it's a staple at the broadcast level. But,
Right.
It'd be nice if we had something more like that at our level. And then I start playing with vMix, and it's like, you know what? vMix Replay does a lot of what an EVS will do. I mean, there's a lot of more than an EVS will do. But as far as just replaying and turning something around, like, hut, we tackled, and then I can spin it back, do a wipe, and instantly see it again.
Yep.
I mean, that was unheard of for a streamer 10 years ago.
Yep.
We couldn't even think about doing that. So, things like that. And so that's a nice thing. And Doug's got a 3-play, and I kind of knew what they were, but I never really played with one. So I've gotten to be a little more familiar with that over the past couple of months. So
very good.
Yeah, I don't know. Future, what else? I don't know. I don't know. I think the future is more about us than it is about gear. Read the book.
Understand how to make your tool do more than what the original designer intended.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's there's a lot of comments, especially on Facebook. Hey, I got something and it doesn't work. Help me.
Yep.
That's not a whole lot to go on that statement.
That's right. My car won't start. Yeah. Yep.
Did you put the key in? Did you turn it on? I love asking that question. Did you turn it on?
Is it plugged in? Yeah. Actually, the plugged in thing caught me 20 years ago with an old Epson dot matrix printer. I was on the phone with Epson, like, I've done everything to this doggone printer and it just won't work. And they said, all right, Mr. Sinclair, is it plugged in? And I said, look, I'm going to humor you because I know you've got to go through this whole sheet. But,
no, it wasn't.
Crap. It wasn't plugged in. I'd spent a whole day fooling with that circuit.
You know what? That happens to the best of us.
But
I think I've done that.
It's a great lesson to learn. The answer to the problem is what is that? Occam's razor is probably the simplest solution most of the time.
Yeah,
now,
but I think
your job may be different.
People get caught up in no, it's not. And we get caught up in the moment. I'm live. My reputation is on the line. I'm providing a service. Oh, but I'm not right this second. So we all panic, deer in the headlights. What do I do? You have to keep your cool.
Yes.
Be methodical. Great, and always start at the source, and do your testing from there, and go through every single step in the chain. It comes out of the camera.
Audio.
Does it come out of the camera?
Does it come out of the microphone?
Getting a little handheld battery-powered monitor with a short BNC cable and something called a Q box for audio. It's just a little. I had one here the other day, and somebody swiped it, but it's not much bigger than a cell phone. It's thicker, but a 9-volt battery, and it's got a little amp and speaker in it, and a couple of XLR connectors, so you can plug anything into it, even a microphone. Turn it on, and can you hear me? Can you hear me? It's just that little bit of testing will relieve most issues that any of the stream techs will run into. So does it come out of the microphone? Oh, okay, it does. Great. Let's go down. So that plugs into a cable. Let's go check the other end of the cable. What does it plug into? What does that plug into? Blah, 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 blah. And eventually you run out of things and you'll find out where the issue is. But you have to keep your head cool and just methodically work the problem. So.
Yes, you do. That's the best advice anybody is going to get off this show ever. Right there.
Oh,
that is troubleshooting 101. Greg, you've been a champ to hang out with me so long and to tell NBC Sports that they're just going to have to wait. But we're going to send you back.
The guy that stuck his head in before was my producer, and he wanted to do some rehearsing, and I basically shoot him away. He did not look happy. Sorry, champ.
Well, just tell him, you had something much more important to do. And yeah, right.
Well, and I told him before I even showed up here, seriously, that's no lie. 3 to 4, man, I'm all Toms.
Well, Jan is saying in the chat that audio is not important. So, yeah.
Yeah, I disagree. We have a saying.
You don't need audio.
No. The
Just video
TV
carries the whole
without
thing.
pictures. No. TV without pictures is still radio. Okay, but TV without sound is just called surveillance. All right.
That's right. That's right.
And
All right.
let's be fair. Yeah, how many times have you been surfing through YouTube and hi, how long? I sound like I'm in a bathroom. How long are you listening to that? Click. But if the sound is good and the video is like, fogged over a cell phone from 3 miles away, you'll still sit there and listen to it. Let's be fair.
Yep. I've heard that 100 times. Yep. All right, my friend, hang around for a second for the post show. I bet we've got some questions. Folks, we'll be right back.
It.
And we're out. All right.
I really like that animation thing. Who did you make that?
Martin Kay, who was on the show earlier. Martin Kay from Zen Video in Manchester, UK. Felt sorry for me.
Stuff.
And he had worked with the Jaws of Death before, and he'd worked with the factory, the crazy factory line. And so he put it all together with some products that we have in our store and made it for me. And he updates it every year with the
oh, that's really cool. I like it.
The copyright date. So yeah, that's most of the good things that have happened for me have been because people felt sorry for me and said, poor Tom, he's such an idiot. The only way this is going to get any better is if we help him. Somebody gave me the background back here to keep me looking like I might do something.
I like that. It looks like a lot of the control rooms that I work next to.
There you go.
All I ever get is a few little monitors in here, and the audio always needs more things to look at, and we're still on the short end of that. And I'm still pushing the envelope.
All right, so Chris Morton. Chris is from New Zealand. Welcome, Chris. Glad you're here. It's like 6 a.m. for him. He said the most important part of video is audio. So there you go.
I concur. I really do.
And Daniel is asking, it says, Greg, do professional broadcasters resist vMix? What do you think about that? That's
No. Yeah. As a matter of fact, I consulted with News Nation earlier this year, or was it last year? They were having some sound issues in the studio, and my old college roommate is like the VP of station ops for Nexstar now. So, how about that? So I went out and was really surprised to see that they use vMix to gather interview material. So they'll give somebody a vMix call link or something, and they'll, instead of sending a crew cross country to go into somebody's house, and during COVID, that was a big concern. Hey, this is my house and it's COVID free. And then you got guys that are going to get on a plane who's been God knows where, and you're going to come in my house and be here for a couple of hours, breathing your whatever all over me and my kids.
Yep.
So that's decidedly a concern. So they would just look here, click this link in the email and it'll open up your browser, and then we can do our interview right here. So, the video doesn't look as good, but we got the content we were looking for. So right. I think it opens up a lot of avenues, and it's not just vMix. I mean, they're using Zoom, Teams, Skype, all kind of things to do the same kind of stuff. But I see this whole bank of, they had like 6 workstations back there all running vMix, and I'm like, hey, what's going on?
Yeah, good. Daniel, good question. All right, let's see. Jan wants to know why there are no X keys behind you.
Because I don't need push buttons to fade audio up and down. So that's one reason.
There you go. He needs a sliding board.
And seriously, at this level, I mean, I don't need a remote control that does something that I'd rather have something else. I can get the real thing at this level. I mean, seriously, this audio board sitting behind me is worth every bit of $250,000 US. It's from a company called Calrec in the UK. They are the top of the audio board food chain as far as I'm concerned. They're amazing. This console is capable of mixing like something like 4,000 individual inputs. 4,000, you heard that right, 4000. It doesn't have that much I/O hooked up to it, but there's 48 faders, and each fader can be a 6-channel 5.1 source. And there's 12 layers of assignments in that surface. So 6 channels times 12 layers times 48 faders is what, 3,400 and something channels. So the mix engine has to be able to deal with that much. So yeah, they're incredibly powerful. So, and most consoles have a couple of subgroups. I think this one has 48, and then I have 96 multi-track sends on top of that. So it's just it's a lot of horsepower for audio.
So yeah, Joe DeMax,
no XQs required.
Joe DeMax says, I miss you, Greg.
Joe DeMax! We had such a great time in Vegas for NAB. If you guys, I know NAB is kind of a broadcast thing, but all the big TV toys are there, and you can get a lot of inspiration from what the big guys use. And NAB every year has more and more smaller equipment vendors. In fact, they started a whole house of worship section a few years ago. I didn't see it this year, but NAB was very scaled back. It's just coming back from COVID. Maybe it'll be back next year. They had this whole section in the center building that was all about house of worship. So there was a lot of like Yamaha consoles and Clearcom, Intercom, and that kind of stuff back there. And a lot of people that know workflow. Great. I want to put this board in my church, but then I don't know what to do with it. There's a lot of information that you can get there that'll fill in all those questions for you. And you don't go to buy stuff. You go to learn about stuff, or at least that's why I go. And it was bonus to bump into you and Joe DeMax and Doug and Keith Lee and, all those guys and, the after parties that we went to. It's just such a lot of fun. It was definitely business with pleasure trip. So awesome.
Agreed.
Miss you too, Joe.
Agreed. Jeff Wingren says, thanks for sharing, Greg. Learned even more about you.
2F. Hope you're doing well.
Martin K is asking about the audio desk, but you've already answered that. Jan Lind says, over and over, I meet professionals, he says in quotes, that shrug at vMix only to be impressed with its capabilities 30 minutes later. Yeah, I get that too.
It's a very capable platform. If you're not impressed with vMix, you either didn't give it a chance or you didn't go deep enough, because it's an incredibly powerful platform.
Yeah, the last time vMix was, well, not the last time, but the next to last time vMix was at a trade show was IBC in Amsterdam in the fall of 2019. And they had asked me to come work their booth with them that week. And everybody had gone to lunch, and I was the only one there. And some exec from ABC pops in, and he's like, we'd really like to own the software.
Great.
And I said, yeah, and they looked at my name tag, and name tag says Sinclair. Well, the developer of vMix is Martin Sinclair. And so they must have thought I was him.
You guys aren't related, are you?
We're 19th cousins. And I told him, I said, well, the problem is, he said, why haven't we bought you? And I said, the problem is you can't afford us. And I was like, who am I to say anything? So I just said, you can't afford us. So I figured if they ever end up making an offer, they would have to make a higher offer just because of that. Yeah. Joe DeMax, for whatever he knows, says, I've been amazed to see vMix advance over the past 10 years. Simply amazing. So what does he know?
It's funny. I also back up the vMix is very capable with the statement of as long as you're running it on enough computer. Because Lord knows that, we've tried to use it on all kind of things that aren't really supportive of vMix. And then you turn around and run it on a second gen i7. So you're not furthering my cause with making people build, 11th and 12th gen i7, i9 boxes.
Well, I mean, that's what I build professionally. But, this is one that I built, when was second generation? 8 years ago.
Takes a licking, keeps on ticking, as Timex used to say. So. And
it was a great little CPU. Overclocked it to 4.5 gig or megahertz, and it still runs. and still runs beautifully. Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Cool.
Joe Max wants to find out how Martin Sinclair is my 19th cousin. Where do you even start? Well, you start with your parents, Joe, and then you go back to your grandparents, and then to your great-grandparents.
I was going to say, what is it, 23andMe or Ancestry?
Yeah, yeah. No, Joe, seriously, we don't
There's
know.
an app for that, Joe. There's an app for that, Joe, and you need to tie it into central control post haste.
That's right. There you go. There you go. It needs to be a central control thing. All right, folks, I got to get back to work. These computers are not going to build themselves.
I do too. I can't wait to see how long the line is outside my door that I've been fending everybody out for the last hours.
Yeah. Well, you're a prince to hang out with us. And
I had fun doing this. This was cool. Thanks.
Good.
My first time ever.
There you go.